Peace, chiefs, and deers. It's Bronzebird here with another video. Before I begin, like and subscribe. Thank you. So I remember a long time back, well, not really long, but a good amount of time back that you had will.i.am at a popular music award show where he had said something to the odds of protect trans children. And, I've been looking at things for a couple of days, looking at certain people who have conversations and all these laws and all these bills put in place, whether to be pro LGBTQ or anti LGBTQ, however you really say it. And the thing about it is, yes, if people who's really paying attention and understanding what's going on in your world, what's basically taking form and shape right now is just the fact of the matter that it's supposed to be the reversal. And so the idea and the concept of gender doesn't matter in this new world. The idea of the uniqueness of being a man doesn't exist anymore. The uniqueness of being a woman doesn't exist anymore. And the problem I'm going to show you with this clip today is that this is a clip from late June of this year, where a woman had wrote a book, a mother had wrote a book about how her daughter had randomly said to him one day that she is not her daughter, instead she is her son. So now you have this whole entire transformation in which the woman started to, try to understand her now son and, basically wrote a book on it and all these different things. And I'll show you the clip, but it's very confusing. And this is why I always say this is what they want to do. The war, why I do these Vet Thy Children series is because they're targeting your children. This is the only reason I tell y'all that when it comes to war, they only have two motives when it comes to this type of war. The first strategy of war is to brainwash the women because they know the women will easily get along with their new subjects and their new concepts. And then when it comes to children, it's easy to manipulate a children because they understand the cognitive brain function of children. So I'm going to show you this clip, and this is going to be pretty much me just giving my analysis about the situation and what is it that I take upon this, because I understand why it's a hard subject when you are a mother and your child comes to you one day and says, I am not this gender, I am this gender. But still at the odds, I feel like in certain cases, a lot of these parents, more specifically mothers, are enabling their children into going to these genders without any pure thought and all these different things. Now, the thing about it is, when I was younger or whatever, what if I told my mom the same thing? Now, the thing about it is, you have to explain to me, hey, look, listen, boys don't say that they're girls. Girls don't say that they're boys. And I just feel like this generation is like stirring the pot when it comes to topics of conversation like this, where you have these kids being manipulated by the environment, the society, their parents probably watching RuPaul or all these programs out here where they see these men sitting up there dressing in women's clothing, and then they really randomly say, hey, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. And I know it's the opposite because it's RuPaul. Like, you have men emulating women, but just the fact of the matter, like, there's a problem in this. It's a distraction. It's kind of like a red herring, but I can't really call it. Maybe not a red herring. But anyway, let me share my screen. Fair use.
As Pride Month comes to a close, we wanted to highlight the work of one of New York's very own, transgender advocate, author, and chair of the Human Rights Campaign Foundation Board, which is the country's largest LGBTQ organization, Jody Patterson. Good morning, Jody, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on Monday.
On a Monday, right? You say this is the hump day because we never work, never not work.
Not as a mother.
No, not as a mom. Jody, I know that advocacy courses through your veins. You come from a long line of civil advocates, so it should come as no surprise that you would stand up on behalf of your transgender son, and you chronicled your family's journey in your first book, The Bold World, a memoir of family and transformation. That was not necessarily about your son's journey, but more about your journey as a mother. So what were the biggest lessons for you as a parent? Because I know you faced some criticism early.
And the thing about it is, which I'll probably explain a little bit later, it's very common that you have the sons and daughters or the lineage of a lot of these civil rights activists who get involved in all these liberalism topics of conversation and, you know, their whole entire thing is to agree with the liberalism that's set in America, therefore the United States or any of the Western world. And she's going to tell you later who's involved in her lineage, who she comes from, and all these different things, a long line of work that these civil rights activists did. Because all it is with these civil rights, especially in the 60s, it was always about promoting liberalism. It was about promoting this type of quote unquote equity or equality with so-called Black people, with so-called white people. But when it even comes to the social changes that happen, so-called Black people of that time had no problem getting involved in it. They followed the program just like everybody else did.
I did, and we did as a family, and my son did, being who he is, naturally. And you said that I come from a long line of activists, and I'm glad that you noted that, because many of us understand change and acceptance and even revolution in some forms, but we don't necessarily think about it in terms of gender identity. Right? My grandmother was a civil rights activist. My uncle is Gil Scott Heron, who wrote The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And so this sort of radical change is not foreign to me, but when my child said, "Mama, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy," it totally rocked me. I didn't understand the language. I didn't understand what it meant. However, I did think that it was something to be scared of and something to be concerned about, because that was 10 years ago, and that was what the media was telling us.
Right.
We didn't have Pose, we didn't have Gender Ma.
Right.
And by that logic, Pose and all those other programs are literally just that, programs, socialization. Now, there was someone who was in a comment section on a video I had viewed where they said they was talking about the idea of population ties into this whole entire concept of them promoting this whole entire LGBTQ type of rhetoric. In my opinion, I mean, there might be an accuracy to that thought, but idealistically, you know, regardless if we're talking about population coming into this concept, this was already something that they wanted to put out in the field. So my thing about it is, yes, that man, whoever made that comment, did have a point, but at the same time, this is something they was already working on probably since the 50s, if not before that. It was always about destroying the family dynamic to get into something as bold as, well, another YouTuber usually says communism, and trying to get into this whole entire concept of reversals. That's why a lot of people talk all this gender role crap, because they don't understand what it means. Men don't know how to be men these days, and women don't know how to be women these days. So it's all upright confusion. So the family dynamic, the nuclear family is dead. They're promoting single motherhood. They'll promote the father not being in a home and being a degenerate. And even if you look at your programs, a lot of the times, if you pay attention closely, a lot of these male characters are seen to be dumb, docile, and to be very, you know, unintelligent. Okay, there's a lot of movies, and especially when you have male actors, they usually do this. It was a film that I was going to review a long time ago. I didn't get a chance to do it, but I'm not going to do it now because it's old. Coming to America was a perfect example of trying to give the male image to be docile. The protagonist that was in question, Hakeem's son, was supposed to be made to be docile. And, you know, the mother is a ratchet, rambunctious single mother from Queens. So.
But, you know, what I learned is that we have to be mentally flexible, particularly as parents. Each generation is going to redefine. And so if we can wrap our head around things through mental flexibility, some of these hurdles will be much easier on the mom and the family and the child. It is a new way of looking at it for me, but it has become a much more inclusive way that has kept our very diverse family together.
Right.
We've never fallen apart over this.
I love that. And it all starts from the home, right? And it's one thing to address these challenges in your home, as you mentioned, but then your son Penelope goes out into the real world, right? The world outside of the comforts of your home. So what were some of the challenges for school? Because, you know, it's easy, I think, as New Yorkers to live in our bubble of New York, which can feel so inclusive. But there's
no way that New York City alone is inclusive. I know this. That is complete BS. New York is the illest liberal city if there ever was a liberal city. If you want a definition of a liberal city, New York City is liberal as hell. If you want to see liberalism taking place, Go down to Washington Square Park or Union Square, okay? There's no inclusive bubble and all these different things. Y'all can go ahead and have a protest about transgenders tomorrow, and it will have the whole entire streets flooded and the traffic blocked because they're sitting up there trying to spread a message. Please.
49 other states where that is not necessarily the case. And so,
and what I've realized, is that when you travel to different places, you are even more in danger or less in danger, depending your civil rights, your human rights shift from where you live, from place to place. And that obviously is not fair and it is not right. I think the most challenging aspect of it was I had to protect Penelope every step of the way. I had to be always in front of him. I had to always exert myself. I had to make sure that the people around us didn't want to harm him. Because as we know, there's 250 plus anti-LGBT bills,
right.
100 plus anti-trans bills.
Right.
It's not just about the bathroom or
right, which the Supreme Court just decided 25 minutes ago that they would not take up the issue of the transgender bathroom. And
because it's ridiculous. They have plenty of bathrooms that is not specifically gender specific, okay? And what they try to do with these random ass laws is and say, well, you should be able to use the bathroom regardless of gender, but then you have the problem in such cases where you might go out to a specific event or go to an organization or, or rent, like say, for instance, anybody who watched something that happened with the spa, a transsexual, quote unquote, woman that goes into a spa and drops the towel, and then the woman was probably with a child and seeing the phallus out, okay? Situations like that happen, but I think it's all bullshit sometimes when they sit up there and talk about those bills, and then they sit up there and say things like, oh, transgenders need their own bathroom, when there's a lot of different bathrooms you can use that doesn't care about gender. Before they ever said non-conforming bathrooms. There was always bathrooms like that. It was called personal bathrooms, okay? Bathrooms that was there that had the male and female logo on there so that y'all can use it regardless of gender. So you can have your own toilet where you could take a shit or a piss. Nobody cared.
So to that point, what are some key steps that we can all do to become better allies to the transgender community?
First, we have to get to know each other. Many of us—
Fuck that. I'm not trying to get to know nobody. My thing about it is plain and simple as it should be. This is the proposal that I put into place, that when it comes to certain sensitive topics of conversation, especially about gender, it should be separated. This is the reason I don't argue for integration. I argue for segregation. I'm fine with segregation. Trans people should have their own bathrooms. Trans people should even go to the extreme. They should have their own school. They should have their own school. When it comes to sports, they should not be participating in sports with other genders if they're not the same. A lot of these issues happen where, what happened? Like a transgender woman got into an MMA fight with a biological woman and had that woman's face all battered up and bruised because of the fact of the matter that trans woman was actually a damn man. You understand? That this is what's going on in your world, man. And the thing about it is, as a mother, I can understand why she's concerned. She might be like, come on, this is ridiculous at first. And then like, if it's a lot of convincing that's done, if the child really feels this way, how is she to react? You understand? This is where the complication comes in. So I understand the whole thing that Jody Patterson is getting at. I understand it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I understand.
Us are making laws and passing bills and making assumptions based on trans people we've never met, right? Mm-hmm. So if your Facebook friends look just like you, you really have to expand that and get to know the LGBT community, get to know trans people in particular. One, right? Close proximity to people who are different is key. The next thing is, if you're in a position of power, hire trans identified individuals, teachers, CEOs, board members. We have to see trans reality in real life, not from just television shows. Right. So hire trans people. Right. The other thing is practice. A lot of people say the pronouns are so hard. Remembering how to address someone is hard. Practice in the mirror. Right. I did it for years. Oh, wow. I stood in front of the mirror and I practiced. He, Penelope, he.
I'm not practicing shit when it comes to pronouns. And this is why I tell people I really don't care about your pronouns. I'm just addressing you by your name. I ain't got the damn time to be sitting up there worrying about saying z, zer, zim, and all this other stuff, which is just a remixed version of saying he, her, and him. Get the hell out of here. And then they sit up there and talk about they this and they that when they is naturally plural. It's plural. So the thing about it is, what you allow into this new age of society is nothing but confusion. Nothing but confusion, and then trying to tell people what they can and cannot say. Now, the thing about it is, if you do something, I think this is where I side a little bit with the whole entire concept of that transgenderism. Hear me out. I only side with them when people do things in like indicatively to really piss off a trans person, like knowing that they use those pronouns, right? They use those pronouns, but like you're doing it to directly insult them. You know what I'm saying? No, don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like as regular people, you know, as regular souls and beings, y'all have to understand that when it comes to things like that, just address them by their name and keep it going. I know it might be tedious and annoying, but like I said, I don't got the time to really be trying to understand pronouns and all this nonsense. I get it. I understand what it denotes. But of course, when it comes to this whole entire thing of society, and when they say this quote unquote infinite number of genders and all this nonsense, like you swear it's just like, okay, maybe a new gender can be made up every day. You know, I'm a specific type of bird species. God damn it. You don't know what I am, just a bird.
Practicing how my son wanted me to address him. Change is difficult, but we have to practice it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So your current book, Born Ready, the true story of a boy named Penelope, as we just mentioned, geared towards children, a different step from your first book. I can imagine why you made that your focus, but what is Penelope's reaction to this book? How does he take that into his everyday life?
It's a bit of both worlds, right? He and his brothers and his sister are proud of the book. We've written it together. It's their voices, their triumphant story. It's not sad at all. So they're very proud of it. Penelope has asked sometimes, Mom, can you just not come into my classroom and talk? You know, it's like as a kid, when all eyes are on you, the question becomes why?
Right.
Why is everyone watching me? Why is everyone debating me? And I tell him, you're more than the laws, baby, right? You're more than these laws make you out to be. And I try to let him just be a kid.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I do so much talking and so much lobbying and so much fighting to push for diversity, particularly with Black trans children.
And I'm sure Penelope is observing you quite closely, because one day that voice will be his own. Jody Patterson, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning and help us navigate through all of this in both.
And there you have it, folks. What do you think your world is going to be in the future, if we have a future? It reminds me of that song by Onyx back in 1995. You know, where in the start of the song, it says the New World Order. You know what I mean? Like it's the last days. You know, Onyx last days in 1995. But I say this to say, what is the future of your world then? Is it going to be fine with a man? There's going to be fine with men having no penises, or, you know, people out here not disclosing their information to a potential mate just because of the fact of the matter is not important, where people might feel very, not insecure, but like feel some type of way about things like that. These are important conversations. Now, on the odds of the whole entire parenthood subject, I understand it's difficult, right? I understand it's difficult. A mother that's just kind of like thinking, oh yeah, I just have a daughter, and then one day your daughter just says to you, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. My thing about it is my parenting skills will be different, because my thing is I would probably be considered a quote unquote conservative. I don't play that bullshit. You come into my house, whether you're boy or woman, boy or girl, you are what you are. I'm not gonna play this whole entire antics of trying to say, oh, one day you come to me with that nonsense. Now the thing about it is when you grow up, and if you have the money, or you get some money, or you get your own money, you move out my house, you can do whatever you want. I'm still not, and regardless of how you feel, once you transition or whatever it is, I'm still going to sit up there and call you or identify you by who you are. It is what it is. It don't change. I might have to respect you in some type of way, but it don't change, you know? So this whole entire thing that they're doing out here, I mean, yes, you have to start it at a very cosmic, a very low shift level. This is a low shift level because this probably didn't have to do with the states and their bills and all these different things. This is something that this girl felt inside. But to end this off, it is a very difficult conversation, right? Nobody's seen this coming or whatever and stuff like that, but this just shows you how crazy it is out here, that the parenting skills is crazy. And I did see a couple of people in the comment section allude to the fact of the matter that this mother was a single mother and all these different things. And, you know, I would say that, you know, that raises the question. Do single mothers actually enable this whole entire new concept of gender now? That it's easy for a single mother to just get along with the idea that their child says that they are the opposite gender, as opposed to two-parent households. But then again, when it even comes to parents of two-parent households, these days, it's still the same play out. The father and the mother might just go along with the fact of the matter that their child says that they are a different gender. And hey, it's getting so more confusing out here, because not only are you having these single mothers out here, you have these single mothers taking these studs as fathers. Like, at the end of the day, a woman cannot teach a man, a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. It just can't happen, right? And then, you know, they don't advocate for male figures. They don't advocate for male figures. Having a stud is not a male figure. And I just want to say that because there's the depths of single motherhood that comes into this conversation. And then, of course, trans people themselves having children. Okay, like just the other day, I just seen on YouTube, you had this random ass trans man sitting up there talking about, oh, I didn't know what to do while I was pregnant. You know what I mean? And then the trans woman is just sitting up there, like, still looking masculine, right? And just sitting up there saying, like, oh yeah, this is what you do. You know what I mean? Like, just chilling there and stuff like that. And I mean, it may seem very cynical that I'm laughing about this, but at the same time, this is how confusing your world is becoming. This is just how confusing it is, man. Trans parents, single mothers, going out with studs, and the studs becoming quote unquote stepfathers, and then single mothers by themselves that might have been involved in some type of activism going along with the liberalism programming. Brother on YouTube usually says Luciferian left. And the fact of the matter, they agree with all this neo concepts. So just be smart about it. I mean, look, my thing is, I can't really tell you anything. I mean, it's very, very skeptical about having children or wanting to have a baby in this society. It's very skeptical. You know, certain individuals may feel on the fence about wanting to have a child in this society. And I don't blame them. It's very confusing. It's very, very confusing, just outlandishly, just crazy. But this is the future of your world, so beware. Peace.